Welcome in to the Main Street Media TV High School Football Wrap-Up Show, Playoffs Edition. Teams from all across the state of Tennessee tied up last week trying to keep their goals alive of raising that gold championship ball in December. And our Main Street Media of Tennessee newspaper sports editors and writers were at those games and on the sidelines for all the action, covering your favorite team's efforts to survive and advance. If you want to keep up with all the action from your local high school teams, as well as information and news from around your communities, hey, consider picking up your Main Street Media of Tennessee community newspaper each and every week. Okay, let's get this trip around the Mid-State started with a look at the action from Western Middle Tennessee.
Hi, how are y'all? My name is Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dixon Post, Cheatham County Exchange, and the Hickman County Times. I'm going to give you a quick rundown into week one of playoff football action. We'll start with Sycamore. Sycamore went on the road as the number 4 seed and defeated White House Heritage 30-27. The War Eagles had just beaten White House Heritage a few weeks ago. Of course, they met again in the first week of the playoffs. And then the other 3 teams that I covered that were in the playoffs, Dixon County lost 24-10 to Memphis Central. That game was on Friday. It was the only game in my area that, in my teams that played on Friday night. All the other games got moved up to Thursday because of the weather from last week. But Creekwood played on Thursday night. They lost 35-7 to Springfield, and East Hickman lost 28-0 to Mount Pleasant. So East Hickman, Creekwood, and Dixon County, all of them, their season is over with. But Sycamore's on the road again this week. They'll be heading down to Covington. Going to be a little bit of a ride for the War Eagles, but they've got a chance to keep their season going. Y'all have a good evening.
Okay, we have some amazing sponsors who support your community and your schools all year long. Let's stop and hear from them, and we'll be right back.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There were some great matchups down in Southern Middle Tennessee. Let's see how they went.
Hey, I'm Maurice Patton down in Southern Middle Tennessee. We had a heavy dose of Thursday night opening round playoff action down this way. Let's get started in Class A as host Richland won its 6th game at home at Wayne Howard Stadium in as many games this season. This time it was Collinwood falling 48-13 in the opening round of the Class 1A playoffs. The host Raiders led 34-0 at the half and never let up. Jake Sands, 3 total touchdowns, 180 yards from scrimmage. The Raiders rolled up 379 total yards and again took care of visiting Collinwood 48-13 in the opening round of the Class 1A state playoffs. In Class 2A, Mount Pleasant playing its first home playoff game in 3 years and picked up its 2nd win of the season over East Hickman, this time 28-0. 36-6 back in week 9 during the regular season. Another big game out of Cale Scott, their transfer junior quarterback, 168 passing yards, a pair of touchdowns, both to Peyton Niehaus, who finished up with 4 catches for 129 yards. Scott currently holds Mount Pleasant's single season records for passing yardage, passing touchdowns, and passing completions, and they've still got at least one more game. Mount Pleasant with the 28-0 win over East Hickman. Mount Pleasant improving to 9-2. East Hickman finishing up at 4-7. By the way, Richland also 9-2. Collinwood finishes the year 3-8 with that loss. In Class 4A, Battle Creek making its postseason debut, and they had quite the challenge. The Grizzlies traveled into Nashville, taking on perennial state title contender Pearl Cone, and it went about the way you would expect. Pearl Cone with a 70-7 victory there. The Grizzlies were down 21-0 early. Chris Lemming catches a pass from Colton Barba, goes 76 yards, the only score of the night for the visiting Grizzlies. Tough night, 93 total yards offensively for Battle Creek in that one. But the Grizzlies finish up again in their first season of varsity play, finish up 4-7 after losing their first 3 games of the season. So, a nice first year for Justin Burham and the Grizzlies. Pearl Cone improving to 7-4 with that win after losing their first 4 games of the season to some toughies, to say the least. Also in Class 4A, Spring Hill improves to 5-5 on the season with a 41-34 win over visiting White House. Spring Hill had this thing under control, 34-10 going into the fourth quarter, gave up 24 straight points before Lionel Brooks scored his 4th touchdown of the night from a yard out inside the final minute. Excuse me. Reeves Gill with an interception to choke off any White House further comeback hopes there. Again, Spring Hill 41, White House 34, the final there. Brooks finishes with 325 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns in that win as Spring Hill picked up its win in its first home playoff game since 2009. In Class 5A, Lawrence County goes on the road, far on the road, over to Evansville, Tennessee, taking on the Ray County Golden Eagles and picking up a 38-20 victory there. Wildcats scored the final 24 points of the game after trailing 20-14 late in the second quarter there. Just went blank. Carter Pettigrew finished up with 265 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in the win for the Wildcats. Quarterback Logan Clayton rushed for another 179 yards and a score as Lawrence County rolled up 439 yards on the ground. First playoff appearance for Lawrence County since 2015, and first-year coach Garrick Barnett picks up his first postseason victory at the helm of the Wildcats. Again, Lawrence County 38, Ray County 20. Ray County finishes up 9-2 with that loss. Lawrence County improves to 8-3 with that win. Let me drop back again for just a second. Spring Hill improves to 5-5 with its win over White House. The Blue Devils finishing up 4-7. Speaking of big yardage totals, Columbia Central 685 total rushing yards in a 70-42 victory over visiting East Hamilton on Thursday night. The Lions improving to 7-3 with that victory. East Hamilton finishes the year 8-3. Daniel Booker, 29 carries, 355 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 of those coming in the first half. Hassan Ball finishes up with another 259 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on 19 carries. Booker's rushing yards and touchdowns were both single-game records for the Columbia Central program. East Hamilton got a pair of 99-yard kickoff returns for touchdowns from Mr. Football semifinalist Jaden Haywood. Haywood also rushed for 176 yards and 4 touchdowns, but Columbia Central just too powerful on the ground for the Hurricanes in this one. Again, Central 70, East Hamilton 42, the final there in Class 5A. On Friday night, the only Friday night game we had in this area, Independence goes to Clarksville in a Class 6A first-round matchup, trail 7-0 at the half, come back and win it 27-20 in double overtime. Ethan Langerbanes, who came off the bench at quarterback for Independence, led a couple of second-half touchdown scoring drives, threw for a pair of touchdowns in overtime, each to George Mayberry. Matthew Horner struggled early in that game, 3 interceptions in the first half, and prompted the switch there at quarterback for Independence, which picked up its first playoff win since 2020. Clarksville, meanwhile, fallen for the 3rd straight year after going into the postseason as a regional champ, losing in the opening round there. The Wildcats, tough run in the postseason for the Wildcats, who finished 8-3 with that loss. Independence improves to 5-2 on the season. That does it from Southern Middle Tennessee. I'm Maurice Patton. We'll see y'all later this week.
Now a big jump up to Northwest Middle Tennessee for a look at how our teams up there fared last week.
Hello everybody, this is Calvin White, Northwest Regional Sports Editor for Main Street Preps, here to give you a quick recap of all of the first round playoff results in Montgomery, Robertson, and Houston County. We're going to start in Montgomery County. Kirkwood was the lone Montgomery County team to win in the first round. The Cobras pick up their first win, their first playoff win in program history. They beat Brighton 31-7 in the first round of the Class 5A playoffs. Independence beat Clarksville 27-20 in double overtime. This is the third consecutive season that a region championship year has ended in a first-round playoff loss for Isaac Shelby and the Wildcats. Brentwood beats visiting Rossview 33-14. Rossview's first season under head coach Strata Young ends with a 4-7 record. Munford downs Kenwood 60-14. Kenwood with its best season since 2015. Their season finishes at 6-5. Moving over to Robertson County, Springfield gets past Creekwood pretty easily, 35-7. Kason Woodson threw 3 touchdown passes in that one for the Yellow Jackets. East Robertson got a little bit of revenge against Decatur County Riverside, 38-7. Riverside beat the Indians 2 years ago in the Class 2A state championship game. East Robertson gets a little bit of revenge to move to the second round. Sycamore had to hold off a White House Heritage comeback attempt, but the War Eagles held on for a 30-27 win over White House Heritage after Sycamore led that one 27-7 at halftime. Spring Hill also had to stave off a comeback attempt from White House. Spring Hill holds on for a 41-34 win over first-year head coach Atlee Pond and the Blue Devils. Joe Burns also got a little bit of revenge. The Red Devils beat Whitwell 13-7. Whitwell beat Joe Burns 2 weeks ago in Joe Burns' second-to-last regular season game. Joe Burns gets its first playoff win since 2022 and its first under head coach Justin Robinson. Sale Creek shuts out Innovation Academy 39-0. And moving over to Houston County, Lewis County shut out the Fighting Irish 37-0. And that'll do it for all of our first round playoff wrap-up coverage from the Northwest region. As always, I'm Calvin White. I'll talk to you again soon.
And it's time to stop again real quick for another word from our amazing sponsors who are all supporters of your teams and your communities.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
When the arena lights dim for a concert, or when the crowd becomes one at a big game, you can almost feel like you're the biggest fan. But who's your biggest fan? It's the person that will get you home safely after a night of drinking. It's the person who looks out for your life to make sure you leave the stadium with someone sober. This could be a designated driver or someone who offers to get you a ride share. Because in Tennessee, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
Up in North Central Middle Tennessee, there was a lot of great action last week. Let's check in there now.
I'm North Central Regional Sports Editor Blaine Kellar with MainStreetPreps.com, here to give you scores, results, and what's next for Davidson, Williamson, and Sumner County teams. You can find most, if not all of this on MainStreetPreps.com, as well as in print, in the Gallatin News, Hendersonville Standard, Portland Sun, and Main Street Nashville. All 9 Sumner County football teams were playing in the first round of the postseason, first for the area since 2021. Only 2 of them are advancing to the second round, though. Let's run you through some scores from Thursday's action. 2-day slate due to weather. The Beach Buccaneers won 38-6 against the Lawson Lightning in the Class 5A first round. East Tennessee State University commitment Shelton Swafford returned to action after missing the second half of the regular season due to a broken collarbone. He scored a touchdown from 2 yards for the Buccaneers, who scored in a variety of different ways, lots of different playmakers contributing on the offensive side of the ball. Beach controlling that game from the onset, a 21-0 lead in the first quarter for a 38-6 win against Lawson. Elsewhere, second-seeded Station Camp out of that same Region 6 5A fell to Centennial by a final score of 38-28. Mitchell Grandjean, the quarterback for the Cougars, connected with Malachi Steele for a couple of scores. He went over 300 yards passing. Colton Overby, the quarterback for the Bison, set a few single-game records that he had already set earlier in the season. He had 30 completions and 437 yards passing in the losing effort. Centennial jumped out to a few commanding leads. Station Camp could never recover an upset, with the Cougars advancing to the second round over Station Camp. Elsewhere, Portland got on the board first against Nolensville, but the Knights scored the next 30 points, winning 32-6 against the Panthers at home. Portland's season ending in Nolensville there. And then the big one from fourth-seeded Hendersonville against four-time reigning state runner-up Page. The Patriots forced 6 turnovers and a turnover on downs defensively. Returned 3 of those turnovers for scores. Page winning 62-0, that being a Friday final against Hendersonville. That's in Class 5A, wrapping up the 4 playoff contenders from the area there. In Class 6A, Gallatin fell 24-9 at Blackman on Thursday. A difficult showing, a competitive showing though from the Green Wave, despite being on their third starting quarterback this season. Jackson Strout, the starter from week 1, and Kayshawn Barksdale taking his place after a season-ending injury to Strout. Riley Ridings, the senior, stepping in after Barksdale was unavailable for Thursday's game against Blackman. Tied at 3 at halftime. The Blaze took control from there. That final score, again, 24-9 in the Class 6A playoffs. Elsewhere on Thursday, White House fell 41-34 against Spring Hill. The Raiders had gone a long time without hosting a playoff game. They'd gone even longer without winning a playoff game. It had been a while since Spring Hill was in the playoffs altogether. And they found a way still to take down first-year coach Atlee Pond and the Blue Devils at home. White House's season ends after a third-place finish in their region for Friday finals. Boyd Buchanan, led by Coach Gary Rankin, a legend in Tennessee high school football. They handled JP2 and first-year coach Rock Batten, 42-17 final there in the Chattanooga area. The Knights, in their first season under Batten, finished 3-8 in a first-round exit in D2 AA. Westmoreland, the other area winner, a 25-21 final against Camden Central. Westmoreland trailed 21-0 in this game, found a way to claw back and win it. And now going up against Westview, the undefeated Chargers, in the second round. Reigning Mr. Football winner Tyler Thompson and Marshall County defeating Liberty Creek 48-21, also in the Class 4A postseason. Westmoreland's win in the 3A playoffs. So that's 9 scores and a little bit more from Sumner County. Let's wrap up with the Davidson and Williamson content that we have on our site. Thursday, Good Pasture and Coach Tyler Turner fell short of what would have been their first playoff win since 2020. It was a shootout against CAK. Good Pasture ultimately coming up short at home, unable to pull off that elusive playoff win. Impressive season for the Cougars overall, though they went 0-10 a year ago to now this year hosting a playoff game out of D2 AA on Friday. Had a few games as well, led by Preston Patterson at running back, had a couple of touchdowns, also had a big sack defensively. The Lions of CPA are winners in moving on in D to AAA, defeating Lipscomb Academy on the road. A short trek from Williamson to Davidson counties. Patterson stepping up big. Or Jack Williams writes he had a small workload running back heading into this game, but with his twin brother Rawls sidelined, Preston stepped up big and led the Lions to a second round date with Ensworth. Quick shout out to close us out here. FRA sophomore quarterback Jack Nimitz threw touchdowns to 4 different receivers as the Panthers controlled their game against Lakeway Christian. Also moving on to the second round in D2 AA. Check out those scores, that content on MainStreetPreps.com. We'll see you back here in a few days for our next preview and next wrap-up shows.
East Middle Tennessee also had a great slate of games Friday. Here's how that went.
Hey everybody, this is David Wilson, East Middle Tennessee Regional Sports Editor for Main Street Preps. To give you a quick recap of all the first round playoff games across Wilson and Rutherford County this week. We'll start things off in Wilson County in Class 3A, where the Watertown Purple Tigers, the number 4 seed out of Region 4 3A, fell to the Region 3 3A champs Tyner Academy on Friday night in Chattanooga. It was Tyner Academy 33, Watertown 20 as their season came to an end, with Gavin Webster and the Purple Tigers finishing at 5-6. Tyner Academy moved to 10-1 on its season and seems to be continuing on a collision course with potentially Westview en route to the Class 3A state championship game at Finley Stadium in Chattanooga. In Class 6A, it was a historic night for Green Hill as they picked up their first ever win in the Class 6A playoffs with a 42-14 win over number 4 seed Smyrna. Once again, Green Hill was your region champ coming out of 4-6A. Smyrna, the number 4 seed, coming out of Region 3-6A. It was a multi-score night for Cannon Burrows and running back Piggy Brogdon as the Hawks advanced to the second round of the Class 6A playoffs, where they will face and host Science Hill on Friday night in Mount Juliet. Sticking in Class 6A in the Friday night Rivals game of the week on MyTV 30 on a rainy Friday night in Lebanon. It was Riverdale, picking up a 28-7 win over the host Blue Devils. Sophomore running back Jacob Vaughn for the Warriors had 275 rushing yards in this one and 2 touchdowns. Gavin Hampton, the Ravenwood transfer quarterback for Riverdale, had a 69-yard touchdown pass to Braylon Burns, and he had added a 1-yard rushing score in the second quarter as the Warriors jumped out to a 28-0 lead over Chunk Gentry and the Lebanon Blue Devils. Lebanon's lone score came in the fourth quarter on a 3-yard rushing touchdown by Gian Azita. Jumping up and rounding it out in Wilson County in Division II Single A, it was Friendship Christian all over Tipton Rosemark on Thursday night at Purtle Field. It was the Commanders 49 and the Rebels 7 as Friendship Christian advanced to yet another Division II quarterfinal round matchup. Blake Wardorf had 4 total touchdowns in this one, 2 through the air and 2 on the ground. And running back Jaden McGowan for Friendship Christian also had 2 scores as well. They will travel to face PCA, who had a bye in the opening round of the playoffs, on Friday night at Floyd Stadium at Middle Tennessee State University. Transitioning to Rutherford County in Class 1A, it was Regions 3A's 3rd seed Eagleville going on the road to defeat second-seeded McEwen by a final score of 42-28. In Class 6A, it was Blackman defeating Gallatin and ending the Green Wave season 24-9. It was Region 3 6A champ Oakland all over 4th-seeded Cookeville 42-10. We mentioned the scores in Wilson County with the overlap. Riverdale 28-7 over Lebanon. Green Hill 42-14 over Smyrna. In Division II Single A, it was MTCS getting off to a nice start in the Class Division II Single A playoffs. They defeated Chattanooga Grace 62-14 this past week. They will face Trinity Christian in the quarterfinal round this upcoming week. That'll do it this week on the wrap-up. Looking forward to talking to you guys next week as we close with some second-round playoff football across the area.
So how did your team do? If they are still in the hunt, you can find out about their matchup for this Friday with our weekly high school football preview show. That'll be Thursday at 4 p.m. Just watch for it on your community newspaper's Facebook page. And if you want to read in-depth coverage and see amazing photography from your team's games, make sure you pick up a copy of your Main Street Media of Tennessee community newspaper. Maybe even consider getting a subscription. To find out how to get a subscription, visit mainstreetmediatn.com. All right, we'll see you right back here next Tuesday on the High School Football Wrap-Up Show presented by Main Street Media of Tennessee and your local newspaper.